first question was actually from me. Why KaiCAD? What's good about it? What's bad?
Thank you very much for this question. It's a tough question because it's choosing the right software for making printed circuit boards. It's kind of religion. For me, since I'm an open source enthusiast, I'm with a FOSDEM t-shirt, with an OpenFest hoodie and PyWars. So I'm an open source enthusiast, and KaiCAD fits really well for me because free and open source software that runs on Linux, Mac OS, and of course Windows. So pretty much you can use it on any personal computer nowadays. I've heard from other people that have more experience in designing hardware that it lacks certain features. However, I have to say in the past few years, there have been a lot of new features, and this platform is becoming more and more popular among hobbyists and professionals as well.
Okay. You mentioned a price difference between the SMT component and the THT component.
Yeah, that's a good question. Excellent question. Actually, I did a quick check. So, for example, a through-hole component, this EEPROM 24C32, the one that I have here is from Mauser. For one unit, it's 0.4 euros. And if we compare something similar, and if it's surface mount technology, it is going to be 0.25 euros. So it's like 30% difference, yeah. But at the end of the day, it's just a few cents. So even if someone is doing low manufacturing like I do, the price is not significant. The difference is not significant. The problem is how to find them, because nowadays it's very hard to find through-hole components. The industry is moving to surface mount technology, and it's very rare to find through-hole components.
Yeah. So Dave's asked a question. I think this might have been before a bit of your talk actually came, so I'll just ask it anyway. Is the EEPROM only used to give information like what the device is, or is it used for other things as well, like telling the Pi something about what to do?
Yes, it does both. It says what the device is, as well as some configurations, for example, of the GPIOs. Furthermore, with the device tree binary overlay, you can do some specific things like the things that I showed you with the LEDs, where you basically instruct what to happen with these LEDs. So you can implement features with these configurations.
Cool. So a question from, I think it's Ivan. Can you use the EEPROM for other things as well as storing device tree configurations? Can you store like files on it and additional data on it, or is it very limited memory?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Yes, in general, you can store, it's a memory, so you can store information on it. However, it's very limited in terms of size. So in this particular example that I covered in the talk, it's pretty much for what I've showed, because the memory is very limited. It's just the basic information about the atom board that is attached on the Raspberry Pi, the device tree binary overlay, and that's it. Of course, in a different setup, you can use the EEPROM for storing information that holds some kind of data. And in professional embedded systems, you can find EEPROMs for such things, even on microcontrollers, not necessarily on embedded Linux devices.
Right. Okay. So you can use it for other things, but the Pi expects certain things.
Exactly.
Cool. So a question from Dr. Footleg. Really interesting talk. I've so far only created hat-like boards, which are designed to work alongside other hats, only using I2C. So I haven't been able to add an EEPROM. As I understand, you can't have multiples of them. So you can't, for instance, have an EEPROM on a hat and then stack another one.
Yeah, good question. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't tried it, but yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I suppose it would be trying to feed the EEPROM through the same pins, wouldn't it? So,
yes, in general, they're the same pins. However, it's connected over I2C, and I2C devices have unique IDs. So basically, it might be possible, but this is a little bit advanced, and honestly, I don't know the exact answer. On the top of my head, I would say no. It's just one device tree. Not sure about it, to be honest.
In the device tree, I missed this bit. So in the device tree, do you have a hardware ID?
Yes, as part of the description the whole description, the EEP file that you have for the EEPROM, there is a vendor name, product name, product ID. So once you have this information from the user space, when the Linux is booted, the whole Linux distribution is booted, you can check not only what is the device on top of the board, but also what is the hardware revision of this device. This is really useful if you have more complex boards with complex logic, and if there are any changes in the hardware.
I see. So you can literally say, and this is version 2, which means it's going to act completely differently to version 1 sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Do we have any more questions on the stage? Do we? For these? Do you do much surface mount soldering? Is it really difficult?
Doing it? You mean do it manually or?
Yeah.
Yeah, manually. Well, no, it's not very difficult. I do it for a small component like a resistor. It's easy, and there are a lot of YouTube videos that are very good starting point. You just need to practice. For something like the EEPROM, it's also okay, and you can do it because it's, after all, it's just 8 pins. However, if you have like a big component with a lot of pins, you should go with a more professional approach.
Fair enough. Question from Daniel. Have you ever been tempted to write a kernel device and then enable it in a hack through the overlay?
Well, I'm not a kernel developer myself. My daily job is as a software engineer at a consultancy company, and I do a lot of embedded Linux things, but primarily in the user space. The good thing is the Linux kernel this year celebrates 30 years, and there's so many things in it. So most of the time, if I decide to make something like the example that I gave with this, the heartbeat, for example, in the device tree source, it's something that already exists. So in most of the time, it's actually quite easier just to enable that something existing or to adjust it.
Right.
So don't be afraid of it. Sometimes the documentation might be not enough, and you may need to read the source code, but most of the time things are there.
Fair enough. What are you working on at the moment? You got any boards in development?
At the moment, no. I'm wrapping up a project for open source hardware mechanical keyboard, and I have a few ideas for smaller keyboards, but still I haven't started working on them. Cool.
Right. I think that is all the questions we've got time for. So thank you very much for coming, and thank you for answering all those questions and for doing the talk in the first place.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for this wonderful event.